Welcome back, beautiful people. So, today is the last part of our series on the approach of parenting or parenting style. Yeah, so in the previous videos, I've talked about the authoritarian approach of parenting, the authoritative approach, the permissive parenting, and today we will talk about the last one, which is what we call the neglectful parenting, or what some people may call the uninvolved parenting, just like the name says. Yeah, I hope that you have been watching these videos and peradventure you have not seen any of those previous ones. I'm leaving the link to the three previous videos in the comment section so you can take your time to watch them and learn a thing or two. Like I have been saying since the beginning of this series, it is not about perfection. It's about presence, it's about connection, and it is about consistency. So, today, neglectful parenting, just like it says, this means absent, like, okay, some people will call it absential parenting. Parents who are not involved, they have left the children to figure out things on their own. Sometimes not really so this neglectful parenting is not just about not being physically present. It could also mean emotionally absent. So yeah, there are instances that for whatever reason, maybe life happened, maybe for death or separation or whatever, there might be reasons why a parent would have to neglect their child. Maybe in situation where one of the partners is being abusive and the other person felt it's better for me to save my life, and then they leave. So there are instances like that. Of course, it is also still neglect, and as a matter of fact, it's an abuse. So that on its own is a topic for another day. But so whichever approach it is, maybe physically absent, these are some of the things you would see in the children, or even emotionally absent. There are parents that they are physically present in the life of their child, but there is no emotional connection. There is nothing. They just believe that, oh, the children, they'll find life. They'll find out. They'll figure out life on their own. That's neglectful parenting. Even though they might be physically present, they might be maybe doing their bits as in providing stuff for them, but they lack emotional connection. In this kind of parenting, you would find that this approach is low on rules and low on wants. Yeah, no rules, no rules, no warmth, no connection, no discipline, nothing. Just do your thing. You need school fees. I've paid your school fees. You need money to make your hair. Collect. It's almost like a give and take relationship. No, nothing to say we're like a family, okay, let's reason together. It's just very transactional, if I may say. Yeah, it's really very transactional. And so children in this category, the good thing is they get independent fast. Yeah, because they're learning to figure out things themselves. So if you look at children who have suffered actually neglect, like parent neglecting them, like parents are not there, you find out that because they're trying to figure out life on themselves, they learn things early, they get independent early, they just learn things themselves. Maybe they grow on the street or they grow up with relatives or something. They just get independent fast. But there is always that gap when it comes to trust and connection. Yeah, there is always that gap because there was just nothing or no one there to model that healthy connection to them. So you would find that even though they are very independent, they don't have time for all this mushy mushy because, and they would not really trust people. Nah, they would they would have issues with trust because as obvious as it is, they would have issues with trust and they would struggle with connecting people, with emotionally connecting with others because there is no emotional connection. And you would also find that, so even in situations where the parents are physically present but they're emotionally distant, you would see that the children don't understand all these things about. So they would struggle when they see they would find it very cringy, or they would find it odd when they now see children who are very jelly with their parent. And the other thing is children in this category, when they now find other children who connect emotionally with their parents, it kind of hurts them the more, and then they will now begin, they can take that out to respond in any way just to get your attention. So while it's important, while they get independent early, the downside is that They would struggle with trust and attachment. Yeah, they would struggle. They would struggle with connecting with people. They would not be the kind of people that would easily trust others, even though I know it's almost sound like a good thing. It's a good thing now if you don't easily trust others, but it's really not a good thing in this excuse me, it's really not a good thing in this instance that we're talking about. And the other thing is they would likely have low self-esteem because no one is there to reassure them, um, to let them know that they matter, to let them know that they are loved, to let them know that they are important. So they would struggle with low self-esteem. They would um, they would just feel like, "Oh, maybe I'm not worth loving, maybe I'm not worth being with, maybe I'm not worthy." And so when they find someone trying to show them love, it's either they are too sensitive or they now just openly, like they just now give their all to it, and then people might then take advantage of it if they now fall on the extreme case of, oh, any small thing, any small sign of love that they see, they just openly run to embrace it, even though the person might not genuinely love and care for them because they've not been modeled to the healthy way. They fall on that extreme. And then you would also find that children who are raised by neglecting parenting are are more, they have higher chances of picking up risky behaviors, of picking behaviors that might, of making choices that might be self-harming. They do those things because they want to get attention. Especially if it's a case of is emotional neglect that the parents physically present but they just don't connect on anything. The child wanting attention will do anything to want to get the attention of the parents, even if it means making poor choices, even if it means picking up habits that are dangerous to them, they will do it because they want to get attention. So if you find some children who you feel like, oh, they're regularly doing bad things, is that thing that you feel is unhealthy for them? That's what they are doing. They might just be trying to get your attention. So as a counselor, one thing we say to parents and that we say again and again is for every behavior of your child, it is speaking something. There is something they're trying to communicate. I'm of the school of thought that no child intentionally wants to hurt their parent. Mind the word intentionally. I don't think any child will set up to say, I really want to hurt my parent. There are children who might feel like, oh, because my parent has done something, I want to get back at them. But for every behavior you see in your child, it is speaking something, it is pointing to something. So when we see children display certain things, rather than try to condemn them, I know we are really quick to condemn them or judge them or to want to discipline, punish them. What is important is what is feeding this behavior, like what's the underlying factor. Why why is this child behaving this way? Is there something this child is trying to communicate? um is there a gap that this child is trying to use something to fill? The truth is, even as adults, you know that, let's say you want to change an habit. Let's say, okay, I want to stop drinking Coke. I find out that drinking Coke, I'm drinking too much Coke and it's becoming unhealthy for me. And then I want to now say, okay, I want to start eating healthy or I want to take less of this thing. If you just say, I'm going to stop, no, you will find out that you will not stop. You'll probably be worse off, self. But you have to replace it with something healthy. So you're sweet already. You can't drink anything that is not sweet. So how about you start? Maybe start introduce. So instead of saying, okay, in a day, in 1 week, or maybe in a week, I take Coke at least 5 times a week. How about you start by saying, okay, I'll start taking Coke, say 4 times a week, 3 times a week, 2 times a week, and then start replacing it with other things. And it's the same thing with children. So every behavior, every risky behavior you see in a child is actually trying to communicate something. I know it's not easy because we have life challenges, we have things that we want to do, we have a lot of things demanding for our attention. So where is now the time to now sit down with a child and start thinking, okay, what happened? Is it, are you lacking this and this? But if we really want to raise children who are healthy, if you want children who grow up into adults that are responsible, then we must pay attention to all these things. So it might not even be your child directly. It could be maybe a child you work with or a child that you know. and you begin to see some of these things in them, then it might be a pointer to the fact that, oh, is definitely trying to communicate something. So, for children who are raised by neglected parents or parents who are not involved, be it emotionally or physically, what is important, what those children need is emotional connection. And so, if you peradventure find yourself that, for whatever reason, some parents can really be emotionally disconnected from their children, honestly. For some people, it could just be life, for some people, it could just be trauma, I mean, various reasons. I can't blame people for how they respond to things that happen in life because the way we respond to things differ and our threshold for maybe pain differs. So, let's take for instance, maybe someone who was raped and they gave birth to the child. It's really difficult for them to love that child, especially depending on the circumstances. And so you might find those kind of people not having any emotional connection with their child because the parents themselves are going through trauma, they're experiencing trauma, and so naturally they're just disconnected from their child. So in that instance, you see that the parent needs help, the child needs help. So if we find people in that kind of space, both the parent and the child actually needs help. So because I kind of feel like people don't just naturally disconnect from their children. There is always something that happens, or there is always something that feeds in. It could even be that even they themselves, that's the kind of environment they were raised. You see, this thing we say that hurting people hurt others is the same thing in parenting. If a cycle or a pattern has not been broken, there are chances that we will transfer it to our children. That's why I'm of the school of thought that before you become a parent, or before you decide that I want to be a parent, it's important for us all to heal from our childhood trauma because unconsciously, those things we felt, oh, it does not matter, all those things we don't pay attention to, they will show up when we start parenting our children. So I think my plea to us today would be if you find that you are on this uninvolved parenting style, that's a cue that you also need help. So please get help, therapy. Yeah, seek therapy because there is a foundational issue that needs to be dealt with. And if that is not addressed at the core, the cycle will continue. If we are not emotionally connected with our children, we are modeling to them that it's okay for them not to be emotionally or not them to be involved or for them to leave their children to figure out life on their own. And so the cycle continues. So we want to be that change that we want. We want to be we want to be that person who says, my generation will be different. We want to be that person who says, this pattern, this unhealthy pattern that I've noticed is going to stop on me. And that way we will do better. I hope you find today's video helpful. Please do well to share this series with someone who you know it will help. Um, there are times that we probably would have seen something in maybe our friends and we might not know exactly how to tell them or whatever. You can send them the link to this video. You can just tell them, oh, I saw something that I found very educative. I also think you would learn something new from it. So please do well to share to them. So if you found today's video helpful, as always, please do well to like, to comment, to share, and more importantly, please do subscribe to this channel so that every time a new video is being released, you will get to know. Please let me know in the comment section if there are areas of parenting that you want me to talk about. I will do my best to talk about it. I will do my best to read about it. I will do my best to research about it. Like I always say, there is no perfect parenting. We are all a work in progress and we are all learning. So even if I don't have the answers, just give me some time. I'll do some digging, I'll do some researching, and we will find the answer. So if there are things you want me to talk about, be it relating to parenting, or if you have young adults that you're raising, if you have questions or concerns, please drop it in the comment section and I will do well to get back to you on them. Till I come your way again, keep winning.